I decided to do this service on the third Wednesday of the month because I think personally we are all mystics. We just have to awaken that up within us. And so as I've been studying different mystics throughout the ages, I've really been impressed by the things that they do that are so common with what other mystics are doing, whether it's a Catholic mystic or a Tibetan mystic or a Buddhist mystic or Hindu mystic or a modern mystic. They all have similar traits, similar things that they do that have led them to have that mystical connection. For me, a mystic is a person who lives in conscious union with the spirit as they understand it. So whatever their faith tradition is, whatever belief system they have, they live in constant connection with that indwelling presence, and they understand it from that point of view. One of the people that I love to read is Richard Rohr. He was a Franciscan, he is a Franciscan priest, and he is a prolific author. And he's written a lot about St. Francis, which is one of the reasons I decided to start with St. Francis. That and St. Francis is so well known. Richard has a book called What the Mystics Know. And in there he has 7 principles that all mystics follow, that are common regardless of the faith tradition that they practice. They understand these things. And so I want to talk about St. Francis tonight from a little bit of that point of view, like those 7 principles and what it was that St. Francis did to understand his connection with spirit. And then we're going to do a spiritual practice similar to what Francis would have done, contemplative meditation. But we're going to do it a little differently using the prayer of St. Francis, which you should have a copy of that. So, and Justin's going to accompany us with some music on the piano back here. So Richard Rohr says the first thing that all mystics have in common is that they know that enlightenment, consciousness, intuition already resides within us. We don't have to do anything to bring more of it into us. We have to clear away the stuff that's blocking it. But we don't have to add anything to us. It's already there. Spirit already indwells us. And our connection with it is available as we begin to recognize that. And so for Francis, he spent a lot of time getting to know spirit. He was born in 1181 and died in 1226. He was rather, well, I guess for that time wasn't too young. He was 47 when he died. He started off his life rather wealthy. He was the son of a silk merchant and was set to go into his father's trade after he, as he became an adult. And he had some odd habits that he would do that his father didn't quite agree with. Like a beggar would come by and he would give him all the gold that he had in his pocket that he had just been gained from selling the silk. And it's kind of upset his father to do that. One day he's walking along and he says he hears the voice of Spirit, of God, telling him that I need you to repair my house. And he actually told him which one it was. It was in San Diamano. I have to think of the word in my head before I can pronounce it. San Diamano in Italy, there was a rundown church. And so this voice tells Francis, his name was Giovanni at the time, tells Giovanni to go and repair this house. And so Francis takes the money he's got in his pocket that he's supposed to be taking home to his father for selling the silk and goes and gives it to the priest at this rundown church. And when he went back into town, he heard how his father had heard about it and was so angry that Francis hid for a month. And his father finally found him and beat him and locked him in the basement for a long time. And then Francis did something again, and same thing happened. So finally, his father takes him to the bishop of the town, who is the main authority there, and tries to get him cut off from his inheritance so that he could make amends for all of the money that he's given away. And Francis stands up, takes all of his clothes off, renounces his father, says, "I don't want your money," and starts to walk out. The bishop runs down and gives him a cloak to wear because they didn't want him out there naked. But that's how he began on his path of really following that inner voice and listening to it and then going where he was directed. You know, it was very controversial in that time to listen to Spirit, and it was controversial to give up your wealth. But that was what he was really called to do. He had one of those experiences that once you've had those, you can't go back from it. The second premise that Richard Rohr talks about is God is found in the imperfection. And this was one of the main reasons that Francis gave up all of his wealth, was because he wanted to live that experience of not having all of his needs met, not living in the comfort that he had, not allowing that wealth to determine what his next step would be. He was ready to live in the situations and the problems of the everyday world, very much like the Buddha did when the Buddha was a prince in India, and he gave up all of his wealth and to experience real life. And so Francis made a vow to take only alms, in other words, charity from others. He would not ask for it. He would only receive what was freely given to him. And so he didn't go around begging, but you would have called him a beggar because he's living off of the charity of other people. And his belief was so strong that he didn't even take anything that was living. Like he would not go and take an apple off of a tree to eat it, even if it was starving. But he would pick up one that had fallen on the ground because it had already died. It no longer had the life force in it. And so he would pick up any kind of plants and so forth that were on the ground. He would eat that. He was well known for eating twigs and dry grass and things like that. Which leads us into our third point, which is that from suffering, from especially profound suffering, there comes great wisdom and joy. And so not only did he spend a lot of his time without, he also made it a point to go to people who were suffering even more than him. He's well known for going to a leper colony and kissing the lepers that were there and, speaking to them, ministering to them in a way that no one else around there would do. And so he knew that was a way also to connect with Spirit. The fourth principle is that the mystical path is a celebration of paradox. And so that's symbolized by this whole idea of giving up everything and still having all of your needs met. He gave up everything that he had, never asked for anything, and yet all of his needs were met for him. The fifth one is contemplation means practicing heaven now. And so that's that idea of treating everything as if it is sacred. Everything in our experience as if it is sacred. So he's well known for being the patron saint of animals and ecology, for the environment, because he treated everything as if it was a sacred being. Every place as if it was a sacred place. He was well known for not only the one temple in San Damiano, but he restored churches all over the area and set up places for people to come together in community. He was a very big community builder. And so the seventh principle here is that when you are transformed, others will be transformed through you. And so Francis himself, he never actively sought any followers, but they came to him in droves. When he would be working at a church, somebody would see him and they would be inspired to come and help him. Another wealthy woman in the same town, Claire, heard about him and decided that she wanted to devote herself to that too. So she was, her father tried to lock her up in a convent, but she got away from him. And Francis hid her out for a while until he could build a monastery suitable for her and the women that were coming to join her. And she also took a vow of poverty and followed the same Franciscan order. So those were the things that Richard Rohr talked about as being what is necessary and common in every mystic, and how St. Francis used those. The one thing that I was reading, and I can't remember where I found the quote, but I had it copied it down. It says that religious transformation works best when you know you are an instrument and not the origin, that you are an aqueduct and not the source. And if you think about St. Francis's prayer, it's, Lord, let me be an instrument of thy peace. Let it move through me. Let me be the place through which it flows. And so he was transformed by that attitude. So the practice that we're going to do tonight comes from the Middle Eastern tradition. It's written by a man named Ethnak Eshwaran, and he has lots of books on meditation. It's Eknath, and then his last name is Easwaran. And I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it properly, but that's how I always say it, Eknath Eshwaran. And this is called Passages Meditation. And so in Passages Meditation, you choose some kind of spiritual text. Eknath actually suggests that we start with the prayer of St. Francis. He said that's the best one to start with. And you want to choose a passage that embodies high ideas, embodies something that you can latch onto, and something that evokes a feeling inside of you. Something like when you say it, you might get goosebumps or chills, or that gut feeling like, oh, this is spot on, this is right. And the idea is to memorize it. We won't have it memorized tonight, but if that's something that appeals to you, you can do that. And memorize it, and then you don't have to look at the paper. That takes away that one distraction from doing the Passages Meditation if you already have it memorized. But it's possible to do it with the paper. You go through the words slowly and silently in your mind, concentrating on them as much as possible. And then you begin to take a passage, take one of the lines of it, and kind of break that down. And so if you just start with the first one, it's like, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. What does it mean to be an instrument? You might ponder that. When I say the word instrument, what comes to my mind? And then, what is thy peace? Is that different than my peace? How does thy peace show up in the world? And just ponder whatever comes to your mind about that. And then you can stay with that one line, or you can move on to the next line. If you have any kind of distractions that come up, which our minds do that, as soon as you recognize there's a distraction there, go back to the paper. Go back to the next line. Go back to the line that you were working on. Redirect yourself. As soon as you recognize that your mind has wandered a bit, redirect yourself back to the text that you're working with. And if you get to the end of the passage, you can either sit and contemplate just the entire experience or any insights that came through, or you can go back and start again with it. He suggests that you spend 15, 20 minutes doing this several times a day, practicing this in a all of the things that we use for meditation, a quiet, comfortable place without distractions. It's most often best to sit erectly. You can either sit on the floor or in a chair. Most people have a tendency to fall asleep if they lay down on a couch or a bed, but some people can meditate that way. So just whatever is working for you. Just go ahead and begin to see what comes up through that practice of that. So Justin is going to play the song. Is this Faith Rivera's version?
Instrument of Peace, yes.
Yeah, this is her version of Instrument of Peace. And which is, taken from the prayer of St. Francis. And then when he's done, you can just begin the passage's meditation quietly to yourself. Before you start, Justin, does anybody have any questions about it before we begin? About the process? All good? Okay. All righty. Joe's going to keep the lights the way they are so that we can actually read. Mine's lit. Your guys' isn't. So, okay. Whenever you're ready, Justin.
Okay. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, ever joy. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. 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 O divine Master, source of light in all, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood and to understand, to be loved as to be loved. For it is in giving we receive. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. 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 It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. Lord, it is in dying that we are born to make me an instrument of your peace, Lord. Make me an instrument of your peace, Lord. Make me an instrument of your peace, Lord. Make me an instrument of your peace.
So just take in a deep breath. Let that out. Just slowly begin to recognize the room around you, the furniture beneath you, the lovely souls that are joining us here tonight. Well, I thank everyone for joining us here tonight. If you have been inspired by anything that you experienced tonight and would like to support the continuation of this, we have lots of different ways that you can donate. Those of you that are online, you can Zelle, you can text to give, you can click on our website. There's a donation link there. We also gratefully receive any check donations if you want to send those into our email, our physical address. Kelly's in the back there with a blue box if anybody in the audience wants to contribute. We are so grateful for you. Please stay and have fellowship with us. And those of you that are joining us online, consider coming in person. We're having a wonderful time here. Thank you all. See you next week.